Hello YouTube, Gamer Ninja here, and well, if you could tell, I now have my microphone magically floating. That really helps. Lighting's a bit weird right now. I kind of have to have the lights off for family, so here's hoping everything works out well. So this is the Pokemon of the week, and well, it seems like it's become Pokemon of the month lately. I hopefully will rectify that issue. So this week's Pokemon of the Week was requested slash given to the person who subscribed 30th on my account. Now I know there was a new 30th subscriber. I lost a subscriber. Sad face. But the original 30th subscriber was Nexhas, who I did a battle with a while back ago. And his favorite Pokemon is Ditto. Now, of course, his favorite Pokemon is literally the Pokemon that is ridiculously hard to do a Pokemon of the Week for. You really only play Ditto in one way. So I'm going to talk about, in this one in particular, and I could do this more so with other things, like what are the issues with this Pokemon, and why, what it was really good at and strong against. Ditto is the famous breeding Pokemon, and it only has one real move, and you probably will never even use that. Its only move is Transform, which turns it into an exact copy of the opposing Pokemon. Minus HP, I believe. So this makes it incredibly strong against hyper-offensive teams, which are usually very squishy, but have high offensive power. And in particular, this also means that Ditto is great as a revenge killer with a Choice Scarf, because you'll copy the opponent's speed stat, and then you'll get the Choice Scarf bonus. So this creates sort of this whole dynamic of where you will always be faster than the opposing Pokemon. Now, because of the nature of Choice Scarf and how Ditto works, it wants to go up against very heavy damage threats, but at the same time, they can't be too bulky. So it can't really do too much work against things that are stall based, like Mega Sableye will literally just boost up in its face and use Recover and all that stuff. And since Ditto will be locked in on one of the four moves that it copies, it's sort of SOL against most bulky Pokemon. So it struggles really heavily against stall Pokemon. Other items that are kind of useful on Ditto, and I put that very much in quotation marks, are leftovers and other choice items. Leftovers is an interesting idea, and it helps out against your stall mirror matchup. It frees up your move set, so you're not locked in on one move. I'm sorry. And it gives you a additional form of sustain against things like Mega Sableye. You could come in on Mega Sableye, transform. You have the advantage now of having leftovers, which can come in handy. But the issue with running those other items are, why not run another Pokemon? At least those other Pokemon will always get the benefit of the item. Like if I were to run a Choice Banded Ditto, yes, that can work, and yes, it can destroy a team, especially if you get something like a Bravebird, Talonflame, that's its name, Talonflame or something like that. That'd be great, but the other times where you get something like a Milotic or a Vaporeon or a Glaceon or something like that, that's kind of weak. So in that regard, more times you will appreciate the speed of Choice Scarf over anything else. Important things to note about this set here, or the ability Imposter. For those of you who don't know, Imposter immediately transforms Ditto, which is huge, because you don't have to sit there with your crappy base 48 HP, I believe? Yeah, base 48 HP, and get wrecked on switch-in, because you have to spend a turn to transform, you're slow, so blah blah blah. It immediately transforms you into the copy of the opponent's Pokemon, except in two scenarios. They're in the ability Illusion, like Zoroark predominantly, and occasionally you might see Zorua if you're using this in Little Cup or whatever, for whatever reason, or poorly used or whatever, or your opponent's just trolling you because you're bad. Alternatively, you won't get the ability of Imposter if the opponent is behind a substitute, which further restricts Ditto's ability to be played well. Many offensive Pokemon can run Substitute very reliably, so you have to really be proactive with Ditto and predict when the opponent's going to switch in and use a move like Substitute. It's usually fairly telegraphed as long as you've gotten some information about the opponent's movesets and teams, but bringing in a Ditto and then having the opponent's Conkeldurr or something use Substitute is the worst thing that could possibly happen. So be very, very careful. Other issues with Ditto are basically dependent on how the match is going. Ditto is very much a sort of a tiebreaker Pokemon. If you're going even with your opponent and you're both running offensive teams, the person who uses Ditto well will come out ahead. Conversely, Ditto can also be utter dead weight against everything else, and that's really its biggest weakness. It's just too niche. It does one gimmick, and it does that gimmick really, really well, but that gimmick restricts its usage to a competitive degree. So I guess that's really all I have to say about Ditto. It's a fun Pokemon, and I've won many games on the back of Ditto by switching it in properly. And I guess I should mention this as well. When you transform, you also copy stat changes. So that +4 Lucario that just got +4 attack and +4 speed off of a baton pass or whatever. Yes, I know that's now legal to do, at least in one baton pass chain. So that's irrelevant. You'll get that +4 speed and that +4 attack when you transform. And then you can use that Choice Scarf to basically click an attack move and wreck everything. So Ditto's really good at shifting the momentum around against very specific teams. And that's, again, Ditto's biggest weakness. It's very strong against some teams, but it's very, very weak against other teams. And the question remains if it's really, really worth it to run over another Pokemon that you can specialize against a team anyway. Like in hyper-offensive teams, you could specialize a Pokemon to deal with those hyper-offensive teams, and it won't be as big of a dead weight against stall teams or balance teams or whatever. And so, I wish Ditto was a bit better, but at the same time, I don't see how it could be better without it becoming ridiculous. And so, I guess that's where I'll end this video here. Sorry about the slightly rushed video here. I hope you all enjoyed, though. I'm the Gamer Ninja, and I hope you all have a great night, and if I don't see you before then, have a happy Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.